It's a wonderful world, Gotham City. It's so big. It really was a pleasure.
Off-screen, Val Kilmer, the mysterious celebrity with the piercing eyes and voice that once made the screen quiver with intensity, led an equally dramatic life. Kilmer, who is well known for his captivating roles in Batman Forever, Top Gun, and The Doors, had love tales in real life that reflected the drama, beauty, and heartache of the movies he appeared in. We take a moving look at the most fascinating relationships that influence the man behind the legend as the world grieves his departure on April 1st, 2025. Val Kilmer brazenly loved and received a great deal of love in return, from famous singers to acclaimed actresses. Over the years, Kilmer dated Cher, Leslie Ann Warren, Cindy Crawford, Angelina Jolie, Daryl Hannah, and Ellen Barkin. Kilmer was married to actress Joanne Whalley from March 1988 to February 1996. The two met while working together on the film Willow. Cher, 1982 to 1984. Val Kilmer was just 22 when he met Cher, already a global icon in her mid-30s. Despite the age gap, their bond was electric, playful, passionate, and filled with mutual admiration. Introduced at a birthday party, their chemistry was instant. Cher once joked that younger men like Val were less intimidated by powerful women, and Val certainly wasn't. They called each other pet names like Valus Maximus and Cherus Reprimand. Though their romance ended in 1984, the friendship endured. Years later, when Kilmer battled throat cancer, Cher welcomed him into her guest house to recover. She called him brave, a true Renaissance man. Val remembered her with equal warmth in his memoir, I'm Your Huckleberry. Their story wasn't just about love, it was about connection that defied time. Michelle Pfeiffer, 1985. In 1985, Kilmer briefly dated Michelle Pfeiffer while co-starring in the ABC special One Too Many. Though their romance was short-lived, it left a mark on Kilmer. He reflected on their bond in his poetry, especially in his collection My Eden After Burns. Pfeiffer remained a figure of admiration in his life, and their relationship, though fleeting, stood as a soft, poetic chapter in Kilmer's romantic history, one filled with artistic reflection rather than public spectacle. Leslie Ann Warren, 1986. That same spark flared again in late 1986 with actress Leslie Ann Warren. Their romance lasted just 2 months, but it was yet another example of Kilmer's magnetism, especially with fellow artists. Though the relationship didn't last, Warren and Kilmer were often spotted attending events together, giving fans a glimpse of their brief but visible affection. Joanne Whalley, 1987 to 1996. Perhaps Kilmer's most defining relationship came in 1987 when he met actress Joanne Whalley on the set of Willow. They married in 1988 and had 2 children, Mercedes and Jack. The marriage lasted until 1996, marked by both deep love and the challenges of 2 ambitious actors raising a family. Despite their split, Whalley and Kilmer remained close. They co-parented with Grace and collaborated professionally years after their divorce. Their children, both of whom entered the entertainment industry, are a living testament to their enduring bond. Kilmer often spoke of Joanne with warmth and reverence, acknowledging the deep connection they once shared. Cindy Crawford, 1996. In 1996, shortly after his divorce, Kilmer began dating supermodel Cindy Crawford. Though their romance only lasted a few months, it burned brightly. They traveled together and were often seen enjoying exotic adventures. In I'm Your Huckleberry, Kilmer admitted he was overwhelmed by her love, saying her love was too much to bear. He even joked that he could have died from it. The breakup stemmed from disagreements over her modeling campaigns, which Kilmer later admitted were rooted in his own insecurity. Still, he never stopped admiring her, calling her brilliant, funny, and an amazing cook. Daryl Hannah, 2001 to 2002. Of all his loves, Daryl Hannah may have left the deepest scar. Their relationship, though short, was one Kilmer would never forget. They lived together in New Mexico and co-starred in Hard Cash. After their breakup, Kilmer confessed he cried for half a year. He called the end of their relationship the most painful moment of his romantic life. His words about her were tinged with heartbreak and longing, proof that some connections, however brief, leave permanent marks. Other notable relationships. In between and after these headline romances, Kilmer was linked to other high-profile women. He had rumored flings with Winona Ryder, Neve Campbell, and even Angelina Jolie, with whom he co-starred in Alexander. Jolie, he once wrote, was more tragic, more magic, more grounded than other superstars. Their bond was never confirmed, but deeply felt, according to Kilmer. He was also spotted with Paris Hilton in 2006, sparking gossip, though neither addressed it. There was a brief connection with Zeta Graff and a quiet relationship with producer J.C. Gosset in the late 90s. But after 2005, as Kilmer's health declined, his personal life grew more private. Val Kilmer was more than a Hollywood heartthrob. He was a man who loved with intensity, depth, and vulnerability. Whether it was the enduring friendship with Cher, the heartbreak over Daryl Hannah, or the quiet respect he held for former flames, Kilmer approached love the way he approached acting. All in. And now, as we say goodbye, we remember not just the roles he played, but the hearts he touched along the way. If you remember one of these relationships, or if Val Kilmer ever moved you with his work or his story, share your thoughts in the comments. Let's celebrate the life, the love, and the legend that was Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer. There are actors. And then there are those rare souls who leave a mark so deep it stays with us long after the credits roll. Val Kilmer was one of them. He wasn't just a star. He was a presence, commanding, mysterious, and endlessly captivating. When he walked into a scene, your eyes naturally followed, not because he demanded attention, but because he earned it, effortlessly. Val had that rare spark, the kind that lit up every frame he was in. And today, we remember a man who gave us so much more than just performances. He gave us pieces of himself. He was never the loudest man in the room, but he was always the most intriguing. With just a look, he could say everything. That signature smirk, the sharp wit, and the intense eyes, he didn't need to explain his characters. You felt them. From young fans watching Top Gun for the first time to seasoned critics admiring his transformation in The Doors, Val had a way of connecting, of reaching into our hearts and holding on. He wasn't just acting. He was communicating something deeply personal, something hauntingly real. Think back for a moment. Maybe it was the way he stood in the cockpit as Iceman, silent but unshakable. Maybe it was his unforgettable line, "I'm your Huckleberry," as Doc Holliday in Tombstone said with a twinkle of death and charm in his eyes. Or maybe it was the gentle soul he revealed in the documentary Val, where the mask of Hollywood dropped, and we finally saw the artist beneath. Whatever your memory is, it's personal. And that was his gift, to make each of us feel like we knew him. There's something sacred about watching a great actor in his element. It's not just entertainment, it's an experience. And with Val Kilmer, that experience was unforgettable. He brought life to the screen in a way that few ever could. But what happens when that vibrant voice begins to fade? When the lights dim and the man behind the magic steps quietly into the shadows? Today we explore that journey, not just of a Hollywood legend, but of a human being who faced unimaginable trials and still chose to shine. This is the story of Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer's story wasn't born in the spotlight. It was forged in quiet ambition and relentless passion. Born on December 31st, 1959, in Los Angeles, he found his calling early. As a teenager, while others chased temporary dreams, Val chased truth on stage. His performances in high school weren't just good, they were magnetic. So much so that he soon became the youngest student ever accepted into the prestigious Juilliard School's drama division. That alone spoke volumes. Even then, it was clear, this wasn't just another actor in training, this was a future legend in the making. At Juilliard, Val honed his craft with laser-sharp focus. He immersed himself in Shakespeare, classic theater, and modern drama. Every role he touched became a deeper exploration of the human spirit. But the world wouldn't meet Val Kilmer until 1984, when he made his film debut in Top Secret, a wacky spoof that showcased his impeccable timing and comedic flair. He could have easily stayed in that lane, safe, charming, funny. But that wasn't Val's style. He craved more, always pushing himself into new, uncharted emotional territory. Then came 1986, the year that changed everything. Top Gun. As Iceman, Val brought a quiet intensity that rivaled Tom Cruise's flashier Maverick. He was cool, composed, and powerful. His stare said more than words ever could. Overnight, he became a household name, but instead of chasing more blockbusters, he zigged when others zagged. He took on the role of Jim Morrison in The Doors, a hauntingly real portrayal that critics still marvel at. Val didn't imitate Morrison. He became him. The performance blurred the line between man and myth. Throughout the 90s, Val proved his range again and again. As Doc Holliday in Tombstone, he delivered one of the most quoted performances in cinema history. In Batman Forever, he slipped into the cape and cowl, showing us a more introspective version of the Dark Knight. He wasn't afraid to take risks, to tackle roles that demanded depth, pain, and vulnerability. He gave us characters who were broken, brilliant, and unforgettable. Each performance peeled back another layer of who Val Kilmer truly was. And yet, for all his fame, he never seemed consumed by it. He was always chasing something more meaningful. Truth, connection, art. Behind the scenes, he wrote poetry, directed plays, and explored spiritual paths. Hollywood loved him, but Val always belonged to something larger, the world of storytellers. But behind those mesmerizing roles, something deeper was stirring, something life-changing. As fans cheered, a silent battle was beginning, one that would soon redefine Val's journey, forever. For years, Val Kilmer was the man who could become anyone, an outlaw, a rock star, a superhero. But in 2015, the role he never auditioned for arrived quietly and cruelly. Behind the curtain, far from red carpets and flashing cameras, Val received a diagnosis that would change everything. Throat cancer. At first he said nothing. He kept his pain private, retreating into silence, hoping the storm would pass. For a man whose voice once commanded stages and screens, this new silence was heavy, unbearable, haunting. As time went on, the changes became impossible to hide. His once strong voice grew weaker, strained. He underwent a tracheotomy, a procedure that saved his life, but at a price. Speaking became a struggle, breathing even more so. The world hadn't just lost an actor's voice, it had lost a part of its cinematic soul. Val, however, refused to disappear. He didn't want pity, he wanted understanding. And so, slowly he began to let us in. Not as the leading man, but as the human being behind the characters. In the 2021 documentary Val, he opened up like never before. Through hours of personal footage and deeply reflective narration, he allowed the world to witness his journey. The highs, the heartbreaks, the fight. You could hear the rasp in his voice, but also the fire in his soul. There was no mask anymore, no costume, just Val, raw, broken, but deeply brave. He wasn't trying to inspire anyone, he was just trying to live. And yet, through his vulnerability, he inspired millions. Even as his voice faded, his spirit only grew louder. He returned briefly in Top Gun, Maverick, a moment that left audiences in tears. It was more than a cameo. It was a goodbye, powerful, poetic, unforgettable. On screen, Maverick stared at Iceman. Off screen, we were all staring at a legend, knowing this might be the last time. And when he whispered his final lines, every word echoed through the hearts of his fans. His final days were spent in quiet reflection, surrounded by art, family, and a deep sense of peace. Val continued painting, writing, and supporting cancer awareness causes. He didn't want the world to mourn him. He wanted us to remember him as someone who gave everything, even when he had nothing left. And now the curtain has fallen. Val Kilmer has taken his final bow, not in front of flashing lights, but in the quiet embrace of legacy. A warrior, a dreamer, an icon, now at rest. Though Val Kilmer's voice may have quieted, his legacy echoes louder than ever. In the world of film, his characters still breathe, timeless, magnetic, and larger than life. New generations are discovering Top Gun for the first time, watching Iceman soar across the screen with effortless confidence. They're quoting Doc Holliday in Tombstone, falling under the same spell that captivated audiences decades ago. His work remains a masterclass in transformation, reminding us of the power one actor can hold over an entire story. But Val's legacy isn't just about his roles, it's about the impact behind them. In 2022, when he appeared in Top Gun Maverick, the world paused. It wasn't just a reunion of characters, it was a moment of real human connection, a tribute not only to Iceman, but to Val himself. That short scene, full of silence and emotion, said more than pages of dialogue ever could. It was Hollywood bowing to a man who had given everything and asked for nothing in return. Beyond the screen, Val's influence reached deep into the hearts of fellow artists. Younger actors often speak of his intensity, his dedication, his fearlessness in taking on roles others wouldn't dare to touch. He wasn't just an actor, he was a craftsman, someone who viewed storytelling as a sacred responsibility. And in that spirit, he continued to create, even as his health declined. His paintings, his poetry, his one-man shows, they all spoke of a man who could never stop expressing himself, no matter the cost. His openness about his illness also changed lives. By sharing his story, Val gave courage to others facing similar battles. He showed that vulnerability wasn't weakness, it was strength. Through interviews, public appearances, and his own documentary, he became a voice for those learning to live again after loss. His resilience became part of his art, and his art became part of his healing. Today, fans around the world honor him not with silence, but with celebration. They share their favorite lines, their first memories of seeing him on screen, their stories of how he inspired them to act, to create, to feel. Val Kilmer may have left the stage, but the show goes on, because legends like him don't fade. They transform. They become part of our collective memory, forever playing in the theaters of our hearts. And now we come to the part no one ever wants to face, the goodbye. Saying farewell to Val Kilmer doesn't feel real. How do you say goodbye to someone who shaped your childhood, stirred your soul, and reminded you of what true artistry looks like? How do you honor a man who, even in silence, spoke louder than most ever could? The truth is, you don't. You carry him with you, in memories, in scenes, in words he once spoke that now echo a little deeper. He wasn't just the actor who played our favorite characters. He was the heart behind them, the soul beneath the costume. He gave us heroes, rebels, poets, and dreamers. And in the end, that's exactly who he was, a dreamer. A man who never stopped searching, never stopped creating, even when life tried to dim his light. Val taught us that legacy isn't just about fame. It's about how deeply you touch the lives around you. And he touched millions. As we remember Val, let's remember the laughter he sparked in Top Secret, the chills he gave us as Jim Morrison, the fierce loyalty of Iceman, the deadly charm of Doc Holliday. But let's also remember the man behind the spotlight, the one who battled quietly, who loved deeply, who gave more than he ever received. In his silence, he spoke volumes. In his struggle, he found strength. And in his art, he gave us a piece of his soul. So this isn't just a goodbye, it's a thank you. Thank you, Val, for the stories, the lessons, the memories. Thank you for reminding us to be bold, to be vulnerable, to keep creating no matter what. We'll see your face every time we revisit your films. We'll hear your voice in the lines we know by heart. And when we miss you most, we'll look to the screen, and you'll be there as unforgettable as ever. To everyone watching, what was your favorite Val Kilmer moment? What scene made you laugh, cry, or sit in silent awe? Share your stories in the comments. Let's celebrate him the way he deserves to be remembered, through love, through memories, and through community. Because legends don't just disappear. They live on in us. Goodbye, Val. You were our huckleberry, and we'll never forget you.